We are now on day 14 of Trump's government shutdown. Somewhere around 1.4 million federal workers have been furloughed. They are not getting paid while Trump buys time to eat the rest of those Epstein files. Even though the IRS is mostly closed, the tax deadline for tomorrow is still in effect. Tomorrow is the tax deadline. Doesn't it feel like the government isn't providing services? You shouldn't have to send the money to them? I mean, you don't pay at Arby's if they run out of the meats.
I mean, nobody has great things to say about politicians. They never have. Go back to Mark Twain. But ideally, we're supposed to elect the best of us, not the worst of us. He's everything that's wrong with not just America, but with being a human being.
Donald Trump's presidency plays like a reality show so chaotic that even reality TV disowns it. Jimmy Kimmel barely needs writers anymore. The news itself writes the jokes. Jeff Daniels, once the steady voice of reason, now watches America unravel like an endless improv skit where madness replaces logic. Together, Kimmel's wit and Daniels' disbelief don't just lampoon one man. They reveal a country trapped in the theater of power gone rogue. It's absurd, unsettling, and still darkly hilarious to watch.
Shut down for 25 days, shut down by Speaker Mike Johnson because there was a special election in Arizona won by a Democrat, Adelita Grijalva. Johnson is refusing to swear her in because if he does, they would be forced to vote on whether to release the Epstein files, and no one wants to be on record, and Trump, for whatever reason, does not want us to see those files.
Oh, we're seeing one in particular, yeah. And you know, to be fair, Trump isn't the only one who may have overextended himself and isn't worth nearly as much as he says. Those guys exist. Tom Wolfe based this in the late 90s, I'm told, on 3 different guys in Atlanta.
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell icon for more. Jimmy Kimmel opens by pointing out that America's leader seems to think the Oval Office is an open mic night. Jeff Daniels follows, delivering his lines like he's reading from a tragic comedy titled Based on True Delusions. Together, they turn disbelief into performance art. The White House now feels less like a seat of power and more like a late-night stage, where chaos writes the punchlines and confusion fills the laugh track. Every press briefing plays like stand-up, minus the part where anyone actually laughs.
But our president, Metamucil World Peace, is having a pretty good week, or he was anyway. Yesterday, Trump had what was easily the most presidential day of his life. He was front and center on the world stage, signing a ceasefire in the Middle East, and then he got home. He started going through the internet, and he just couldn't help himself. Trump made the cover of Time magazine, which he usually loves. You know, before he was president, he had fake Time magazine covers hanging on the walls of his golf club.
Trump's leadership style could best be described as jazz if jazz were played by someone who doesn't know the instruments, the notes, or why the band even showed up. His choices riff wildly off rhythm and reason, improvising straight into history books that future historians will read while clutching therapy bills. Kimmel spins comedy gold from the contradictions, finding punchlines in pure unpredictability, while Daniels uncovers the quiet tragedy beneath the noise. Together, they strike a strange harmony, one laughing through the chaos, the other sighing like a weary drama teacher watching his star pupil flunk finger painting again.
Wondering why our representatives in the House are not at work, Senator Ruben Gallego of Arizona did a pretty good job of explaining it.
Speaker Johnson is protecting pedophiles. That's what this is all about. Speaker Johnson is trying to cover up for pedophiles. Is that clear enough? Speaker Johnson is covering up for pedophiles. Speaker Johnson is covering up for pedophiles. Did you guys get that? Speaker Johnson is covering up for pedophiles. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
Jeff Daniels compares the administration to a play where every actor forgets their lines but keeps shouting anyway. Trump improvises policies like a magician pulling chaos from a hat, tariffs, tweets, threats, and bursts of self-applause. Each act ends the same. Cheers from loyal fans and stunned silence from everyone else still wondering how they got tickets to this bizarre production. It's the only presidency where the blooper reel and official footage are identical, chaotic, unfiltered, and unintentionally hilarious. A political performance that never quite knows when the curtain should fall.
We've lost decency, we've lost civility, we've lost respect for the rule of law. Lost it. We have normalized verbal abuse on the internet. We've normalized bullying, much as the woke generation tried to, change that. It's back. And out the window goes character, integrity.
Kimmel has perfected the art of turning chaos into comedy. And Trump's presidency supplies enough material to last a lifetime. He doesn't need a writer's room, just a newspaper, a mug of coffee, and a tolerance for absurdity. The late-night host has turned disbelief into performance art, his raised eyebrows rivaling approval ratings. Each monologue feels like an intervention disguised as humor, where the jokes aren't for the crowd, but for the man, who still confuses applause with accomplishment and the sound of chaos with a standing ovation.
And I guess conjured up some mixed feelings because of the photo being used. It's upset him so much that at 1:36 a.m. he posted, Time magazine wrote a relatively good story about me, but the picture may be the worst of all time. They disappeared my hair and then had something floating on top of my head that looked like a floating crown, but an extremely small one.
Daniels doesn't chase laughs. He chases meaning, or at least the ghost of it. He views Trump's leadership like a collapsing stage set, part spectacle, part tragedy, and somehow still standing through sheer denial of gravity. To Daniels, Trump represents the erosion of sincerity itself. When the lines between acting and governing blur this completely, politics morphs into parody, powered by ego and broadcast live. His disdain isn't loud, it's surgical, cutting through bluster with the precision of a scalpel slicing cheap fabric. Under his gaze, governance becomes theater. Every blunder a rehearsed misstep. Every scandal a new act in leadership, the spoof. Daniels speaks of integrity like a forgotten dialect, something once fluent, now foreign. In Trump's world, truth isn't a foundation but a pose, bending to convenience and contorting so often it could qualify as Olympic-level flexibility, an art form of distortion disguised as conviction.
Reagan as the campaign season is because I was emailing with you. How much is Reagan our distant past now that Trump is the standard bearer of the Republican Party?
Distant with a capital D? Yeah, I don't think we should be surprised. Maybe there are some Republicans who are becoming surprised about what's going on, how far he's going. But I've told you, I still go back to that 90-minute meeting that Trump had with Putin behind closed doors in Helsinki. Kicked the American translator out. It's just Putin, Trump, and the Russian translator. What happened? What were we talking about? Curious, because he came out of that room looking like a child that had been...
Kimmel, never one to miss a metaphor, calls it political stretching without warm-ups. And the strain shows. The administration's priorities are as elastic as their explanations, bending toward convenience and snapping away from accountability. Every contradiction becomes confidence. Every blunder is dressed up as brilliance, and every scandal rebranded as success. It's marketing over meaning, with Trump as both salesman and most devoted customer. Jeff Daniels counters with quiet gravitas, the kind of calm that turns silence into judgment. He doesn't need to shout. A single raised eyebrow conveys more truth than a dozen press briefings. Kimmel, meanwhile, wears humor like armor, deflecting absurdity with a surgeon's precision, laughing not to dismiss, but to dissect. Trump's America now plays like a rerun pretending to be a premiere, with rallies staged as encore performances for an audience unaware the show's been canceled everywhere else. Kimmel thrives on the repetition. Daniels endures it, watching a man miss every cue yet still demand applause.
Game of who am I mad at today? Is it the Cracker Barrel logo? Is it windmills? Is it Bad Bunny? Is it the Nobel Prize? Or is it the turkey vagina slapping around under my chin? I'm not sure we're even allowed to show his neck on TV. Wouldn't it be funny if the FCC fined us for showing his neck.
Kimmel and Daniels didn't invent the mockery. They mastered its delivery. Kimmel wields satire with a grin. Daniels frames it with weary disbelief. There's no need to exaggerate Trump. His behavior already parodies itself. Every promise feels scripted, every denial improvised, every triumph suspiciously timed for distraction. Daniels notes that politics has become a costume drama, each scandal deflected, each failure rebranded with fresh slogans. The performance never ends. World leaders have adapted like wary audience members, smiling, clapping, and avoiding eye contact whenever he strays off script. Diplomacy, Daniels' size, now resembles crisis management. Kimmel jokes that U.S. foreign policy runs on vibes and hashtags. What was once a symbol of global authority now feels like an unwanted reality show reboot. Gaudy, chaotic, and impossible to turn off. The spectacle rolls on, louder and stranger, its audience unsure whether to laugh, cringe, or simply walk out before the next act begins.
Has been doing his part to bring the two sides together by calling one of the sides the party of hate, evil, and Satan. Hate, evil, and Satan. And that's why they call him the peace president. Teddy Roosevelt had a press conference / pity party today. He bitched and moaned and patted himself on the back so many times he almost dislocated his shoulder. He played all the hits. He bragged about winning the elections in Georgia in 2016 and 2024. He again claimed the election was stolen from him in Georgia in 2020. The blaming and the bragging, he cannot.
Trump thrives in chaos. It's his natural habitat. Outrage is his oxygen, and he's built an empire on the spectacle of perpetual upheaval. Kimmel mocks the obsession with headlines, pointing out how every scandal seems perfectly timed to eclipse the last. It's not governing, he quips, it's stage management. Daniels sees something darker, an addiction to attention so consuming that silence feels like failure. Without cameras, there's anxiety. Without applause, there's crisis. Criticism isn't rejection, but raw material, each attack refashioned into a scene of victimhood. What was once leadership now feels like performance maintenance, the presidency reimagined as a non-stop production. Kimmel likens Trump's speeches to late-night reruns, high on bravado, low on coherence. There's rhythm, repetition, and the illusion of meaning, but the message dissolves mid-sentence. His words scatter like confetti, flashy, chaotic, and empty once they settle. The absurdity peaks when Trump lists imaginary triumphs with the gusto of a game show host announcing prizes that don't exist. Kimmel spins those moments into incredulous punchlines. Daniels plays them as tragic farce, a nation applauding victories that either never occurred or collapsed spectacularly. Satire barely keeps pace with a reality that writes its own jokes.
Has some kind of a YouTube show, and he took her for a ride during a round of golf, and even there he couldn't stop tooting his own horn.
How has it been in the White House so far?
It's been great. Having a good time. We're doing a great job. We stopped 7 wars.
Yeah.
7. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Your taxes are coming down. See, everyone's happy, honey.
That's awesome.
Awesome, Grandpa. You're awesome. Imagine that's your grandpa.
Kimmel, reflecting on decades of storytelling, admits no writer could have invented a character like Trump and been believed. Too unrealistic, they'd say. Too loud, too exaggerated. Yet here he is, crafting his own legacy one scandal at a time, mistaking chaos for charisma and confusion for courage. Kimmel laughs with the blend of amusement and exhaustion that defines modern political humor. He and Daniels aren't observing from afar. They're chronicling the spectacle in real time. Their interplay mirrors America's emotional divide, half still laughing, half too drained to react. Trump is the only president to treat governance like marketing, and somehow the product always finds a buyer. But beneath the spectacle lies something grimmer, the normalization of nonsense. Daniels notes how absurdity has become policy, and confusion has quietly replaced clarity. Truth, once sacred, is now perspective, and facts bend with mood. Sincerity, it seems, is the only thing fully out of style.
I mean, that son of a bitch, you know, is... Really unbelievable.
Mr. Son of a bitch.
I mean,
Mr. Son of a bitch.
His royal. Yes, yeah, no, I never imagined that we'd ever have a president like this, and I hope we don't ever have another president like this again. I mean, I never even imagined there would ever be a situation in which the president of our country was celebrating hundreds of Americans losing their jobs. There's somebody who took pleasure in that. That, to me, is the absolute opposite of what a leader of this country is supposed to be.
Kimmel, never one to miss irony, observes that America has become a post-reality reality show where every lie gains a fan club and every correction sparks new conspiracy theories. It's funny until it isn't, and that's the point. Jeff Daniels, accustomed to stories that arc tragically, sees this one teetering on improvisation at the edge of collapse. Each new chapter rewrites the rules, and every explanation only heightens the absurdity. He likens Trump's presidency to a drama with no final act, each season more chaotic than the last. Kimmel thrives on the endless material, though he concedes that the humor's longevity comes at the nation's expense. Laughter masks exhaustion. Satire veils worry, yet America continues to watch. Trump commands attention effortlessly, even at the cost of coherence. Crisis is his brand, survival his slogan, mayhem his method. Daniels, who once portrayed a fictional news anchor declaring America no longer the greatest country, now sees Trump as a real-world echo of that dark foresight. The boundary between performance and reality dissolves, leaving comedy, tragedy, and spectacle intertwined in ways unprecedented, unpredictable, and unforgettable. In this era, the audience laughs, winces, and waits, never sure whether the next act will shock, amuse, or terrify.
He says he would carry out a deportation operation to remove more than 11 million people from the country. He says he would use the military to build migrant detention camps. He would let red states monitor women's pregnancies and prosecute those who violate abortion bans. He would, at his personal discretion, withhold funds appropriated by Congress. He would fire any U.S. attorney who wouldn't carry out his order to prosecute. He's weighing pardons for everyone who attacked the Capitol.
Kimmel, part amused, part bewildered, turns absurdity into comedy. When the circus refuses to leave town, what choice is there but laughter? There's no need to dismantle Trump. He's already fashioned a caricature of himself. The mirror alone delivers the punchline. Kimmel ends his bit with that familiar smirk. Funny, yes, but the truth behind it is anything but. In this uneasy overlap of humor and fatigue, he and Daniels find balance. One cracks jokes to survive, the other reflects to endure. The curtain hasn't fallen, yet the audience grows restless. The spectacle dominates the stage, and the world cannot look away. Every quip, every sigh negotiates the space between absurdity and reality. Comedy becomes a lifeline, reflection a shield, and under the spotlight's glare, both navigate a chaos that feels endless, yet strangely familiar. In the end, humor and observation are their tools to make sense of a world spinning out of script.